Welcome back to Conversations with Helen King. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I remember when we started taping conversations last year, we thought we'd do one or two, and now this is episode 10. We're wrapping up this season. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and for being willing to do this.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I think it has too. And people seem to so enjoy it and hearing you and feeling like you're talking right to them. We've had a lot of topics over the past time that we've been together. Without entitling this Let It Rip, just this is Helen Unfiltered, not that you aren't always anyway, but just whatever you want to talk about, whatever you feel drawn to, just allow Spirit to move through you as it always does so beautifully.
Well, I learned very early that this was my journey. That I believe that before we incarnate, we decide what we want to learn, what we want to teach, what we and how we want to do it. And we make the choices of where we do that, parents, place, gender, size, etc., etc. And then, as we incarnate, we need to remember our source and what our commitment is to ourselves and to creation. So I remember coming in and saying, this time I'm going to remember. This time I'm going to remember. And I think I remembered quite a bit. Because I remember sitting in my high chair evaluating my parents and their lifestyle. And realizing that they weren't using their time, nor their money, nor their talents. They were not organized, etc. Wise use of energy, in other words. And that's so important because the universe is organized. And when it flows in a specific way, the way it's set up, and when you're flowing with it, your life flows too. And when you're not, your life doesn't. So I wanted to be the best person I could be, so I started making choices that were different from the people around me. And I learned that it's best not to talk about it, to just do it, to just be. And so I probably saved myself a lot of grief because I just did. And if it was something I didn't want to be involved with, I didn't participate. I learned that in any given situation, you can either be the participator or the observer. And you learn a lot by observing. And oftentimes, by observing someone else doing something and noticing the results, you learn from it and don't have to go through it. So you know a lot of things that work, you know a lot of things that don't work. And so then, as I got out into the community and listened to teachers, I didn't believe a lot of what I was told. I thought adults would have a child's best interest in mind, but realized that they don't always. It's more control manipulation to fit in to my idea of what the community is and your part in it, or what the world is and your part in it. So when you get down to religion, I don't consider myself a member of any religious group, but a member of all groups. I think that there is truth in every religion, and the main differences are cultural. That where you are on the planet and the culture has influenced religion until you can always recognize the major truths that are at the basis of every religion. And in the 1950s, I lived in a small town of 865 people that had 6 churches and 5 bars. and there were kings in 5 of the churches. So I interacted with members of the different churches all the time. But I also did a survey and talked to the major leaders of the different churches, asking what their beliefs were, and realized that no one in any congregation believed the same things. So I learned that religion is really very personal. And so made choices to do the things that I thought were in my best interest. And had the courage to step up and say no sometimes when I thought I was asked to do something that wasn't. And I continually do that. So each of us is responsible for how we live our life. And there can be no blaming. If you look at the word blame, you may be lame. And so you need to be that spiritual warrior. And most of us are in a search for truth. What is truth? What is reality? The real it. And somebody just told me recently, I'm not leaving till I get it. But then somebody else said to me, I'm putting in my order right now. The next incarnation, I want to come as your daughter. which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
But then, oh gosh, in the 1980s, one of my friends said, I must have been out of my tree when I didn't choose you for a mother. I'd never leave home if I was your daughter. And I said to myself, want to bet? Because we raise our children to be themselves, not copies or of the adults, but to let them make their choices of about who they are and the kind of life they want to live. And I think I have 3 very independent daughters who are role models for doing that. So, who are you? Are you willing to be your authentic self? And if not, why not? And I get what I call divine revelations, meaning that when I have a question about reality, truth, I sit still and listen. And maybe it's 10 minutes, but sometimes it's an hour and a half or 2. Because I keep getting insights. The universe usually communicates in symbols. And there are universal symbols which anyone can understand, no matter what their language is. And then there are personal symbols that usually relate to something that has happened in your life. And so when you ask a question, maybe you'll see a dog. Well, say you have a new neighbor, and you say, oh, gee, I wonder what they're going to be like, what kind of a relationship we can have. And so you see a dog. Well, when you were young, you had a dog that was your companion. Went every place, met you when you came home from school, just did all kinds of wonderful, loving things, slept in your bed, etc., etc. So if you see a dog, that can mean, oh, they're going to be a really good friend. However, if I was bitten by a dog when I was 6, I might want to say, oh, let's be careful here and see what the relation is like. Don't invest too much until you're sure that they've gotten over the biting stage, so to speak. And I get a lot of messages through music, because I have a background in music. And so we get a lot of messages in dreams. I believe that dreams are personal messages to you, from you, about something you're needing to know that pertains to your life now. It may have people that you're familiar with or not, and the circumstance may be different. But look at what it's saying, because it's saying something to you that you want to know. And I believe that we're made in the Creator's image, and that can mean, that does mean that we're omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, meaning we're here now, and we're all powerful and all knowing. Claim it. Act as if, and do things. If you want to do something and you keep getting the push to do it, you have the wherewithal to do it. Because everything you need is within and around you to be accessed and used whenever you choose. And I have people, friendships that have for 20 years have been telling me they're going to do something and they haven't done it. So essentially they're living 21-year experiences rather than 20 years experiences. So it's a decision. Have you made the decision about who you want to be, who you want to do it with, and how? I recently was working on my immune system, building it, and I also took it into my life, and I realized that I'm really immune to a lot of the things that are happening, the things that we might call evil, people, actions, words. It's like, bloop, there's so-and-so doing their thing, there's so-and-so doing their thing. And I choose not to allow it to affect me. I'm very careful about how I interact with anyone or anything or any word that disturbs my peace. I choose to be loving in all situations. In fact, if something comes up, a challenge, I say to myself, how can I be more loving in this situation? And whatever it is, do it, no matter who it's with. And a phrase that helps with that is, how can I make your day better today? What can I do to make your day better today? And then listen. And don't offer if you're not willing to follow through. Then part 2, what can I do to make my life better today? And I've been using that a lot. Because it just, I don't know, you just give yourself permission to be who you know you could be, should be. So, if you're not who you want to be, why not? In fact, I don't want to leave this life not being the best person I can be, for however long that is. Any questions, comments?
I had a couple of comments, but I'm just going to hold them because I was afraid that I really wanted the stream of consciousness to not go in a direction that I was thinking. So what I'm going to invite people to do, because like almost everyone else watching this video, I feel like you're talking right to me. You have that ability to speak to whatever it is that your audience is going to be, even though at this point we don't know who's going to be watching these videos.
Yes.
And yet the right video, the right episode is going to be there for the person at the right time. So I invite people who are watching this on YouTube to comment below and to ask anything that you have of this video and what Helen's told us and shared with us, or any of the other ones. And if you want to just write your comments in there, or you can write to Helen directly, where can they contact you? What email would you like to use?
hyking@verizon.net.
hyking@verizon.net, and I'll put that on this episode as well.
Yeah, in the subject, put conversations.
Conversations, okay.
So I know that it's not spam.
Okay. Exactly. And also feel free to use the comment section below as well. If I'll make sure that Helen gets all of those comments and that we get answers right on the YouTube page that you put them on, because if you're asking it, someone else probably will too.
I will make a comment that I'm doing a seminar on October the 19th at Unity of Harrisburg in Enola, Pennsylvania. It's on Know Thyself, 9 to 12. And for further information, call Unity of Harrisburg.
Excellent. Helen,
So,
thank you so much for doing this again. I know that everyone that watches them has appreciated your efforts and your wisdom and your humor and your very clear message about what we can do to have a life worth living and to really be the people we are.
well, I've committed to living a lot longer. A lot more to do, a lot more to share. And it is such a pleasure to be able to have the format to be able to share, because care and share, that's what it's about.
You're
Because
beautiful.
to share what I have, everyone has a gift for you. Everyone. Get it.